How's it going out there, everyone? This is W.F.S, your doctor, here today with a interesting little thing that I found on the internet from Screenrant, talking about 8 things that may need to be done to Star Trek. At least this is the way I'm interpreting it. If I'm wrong, please correct me on this. But to me, this sounds so silly. But let me show you what I'm talking about. 8 Star Trek episodes that the series must revisit before it is too late. Before it's too late? Really? What? What are you talking about before it's too late? I mean, you can rewrite the history of these episodes, these series. Strange New Worlds has done that already. So what is this before it's too late? Now, to be fair about this, they're not talking about a new TV show coming along and rewriting the history of specific episodes. You're going to love this. The Star Trek franchise stretches across numerous episodes as well as movies, some of which are begging to be revisited. IDW Publishing has recently announced the return of Star Trek Deviations, a series of one-shots showing the road not taken at critical moments in the franchise's long and storied history. Think of it as Star Trek's version of Marvel's What If. Okay, so the first stop on our what if this happened in Star Trek, or rather what if this didn't happen in Star Trek, is Q Who. You know, that second season episode where Q throws the Enterprise in the path of a Borg ship for the first time. And if it wasn't for that encounter, the Enterprise and Starfleet probably would not have had the ability to get ready for the Borg. But honestly, even with all the preparation that they did do within that 1 year, it really didn't do anything to defend themselves from the Borg. They were completely wiped out. I mean, War 359 clearly shows that that year of readiness did absolutely nothing. If it wasn't for the fact of Picard being assimilated and them capturing him, they never would have figured out how to stop the Borg. So all that preparation was pointless to begin with. But anyway, getting back to what Screenrant is saying, what if they had never encountered the Borg ship? Well, we already know that the Borg were in the Federation, were in the Alpha Quadrant, because of the first season episode, The Neutral Zone. So the Borg were there. Why they didn't make any aggressive moves toward the Federation, no one knows. Maybe they were just buying for time, not sure. But the bottom line is that Screenrant is asking the question, what if this didn't happen? What if Q-Who didn't happen? Would the Federation have been ready? Could they have handled the Borg, or would it have been a complete disaster? That's a good question. Really is. And I honestly think the Federation would have still managed very well. What about Voyager? If the caretaker had never thrown Voyager into the Delta Quadrant, what would Starfleet have been like? What would Star Trek be like without Voyager lost in the Delta Quadrant? Well, from a fan point of view, I know a lot of people would be very happy because we never would have encountered the character Neelix. A lot of people cannot stand this guy. He's very annoying to so many people. I heard him described as the Star Trek version of Jar Jar Binks. Now, Screenrant argues that if Voyager had never been thrown into the into the Delta Quadrant, they would never have been able to learn a lot more about the Borg than any other vessel in the history of Starfleet. 7 of 9 never would have become part of the crew, and they never would have found a way to place a virus onto the Borg Queen's ship and basically infect the entire Borg drones, and eventually leading to their destruction in Star Trek Picard. Now, for myself, 2 episodes in particular that I absolutely loved from Voyager was The Thaw and Tuvix. Those absolutely were great stories as far as I was concerned. But as to Screenrant's idea about what would have happened to Voyager if it had never been thrown into the Delta Quadrant, it's an interesting idea, honestly. But I don't think these ideas that they're talking about are worthy of comics. I really don't. And it's And again, I go back to the beginning of the video in their article talking about like it's urgent that they revisit these stories. Why? What is the rush? What is the time limit for this? Now, this one is definitely one I know so many people kind of wish didn't happen. What if the supernova didn't destroy Romulus in the 2009 Star Trek? Well, we wouldn't have the Kelvin timeline, which would make so many people happy. I can't tell you how many people can't stand the Kelvin timeline. Yes, there's people out there who love this series, but it just doesn't work. It's name a time in these movies when the Enterprise wasn't being torn up, when Kirk wasn't running around questioning his command decisions or lacking confidence in what he does. It's just didn't feel like Star Trek. The last one that I want to talk about, and I've left out a few of them, but these were the ones that I thought were interesting, was what if Dukat has succeeded in releasing the Par race from the fire caves? If you remember what Dukat said, Dukat wanted the Par race to go all the way out into the Alpha Quadrant, the whole galaxy, with their flame of evil. He wanted the whole galaxy to be lit on fire. So Screenrant wanting a whole comic based on that, what's the point? The whole galaxy's in flames. So I will ask the question again. What's the point of this? 8 Star Trek episodes the series must revisit before it's too late. Now again, I've only covered a couple of them, but the question still needs to be asked. What is the point of all this? Dukat, what if he had released the Par rays from the fire caves and they put their flame through the entire galaxy? The galaxy would be dead, okay? Yes, it's a very interesting question about what if the Borg or the Enterprise had never encountered the Borg. Q had never thrown him in front of it. Yeah, it's an interesting question. I'm not exactly sure it's an interesting question to ask what would have happened to Voyager or what events would have been like in Starfleet if Voyager hadn't been thrown into the Delta Quadrant. I really am not sure about the major impact that Voyager had. Yeah, they found ways to help deal with the Borg, but I honestly believe there was a lot of technology left over in the Alpha Quadrant. A lot of the events had taken place with Borg technology from what they pulled from Picard. They probably would have found a way to defeat the Borg without Voyager being in the Delta Quadrant. So honestly, I don't get the point of that one. Anyway, I would love to hear your thoughts and comments, so please drop those comments below and let me know. Until the next time, my friends, God bless.